What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more of The Glove. And we're back with the 1983 album Blue Sunshine. Thank you again to Nicola. And the next tune is amusingly titled Mr. Alphabet Says. It has a light, silly character to it. It almost sounds like it could be a children's song. I'm expecting it to be more nuanced than that, but yeah, hard to get a sense of what it might be about, so let's give it a listen. This is The Glove. The track is Mr. Alphabet Says, and it's from their 1983 album Blue Sunshine. Wow. So yeah, sonically it's so interesting because there's a light, almost jollity nature to those more sonically dense sections, but overall there's this ghostly melancholy to it. It's almost like spirits from the 19th century, like rising to engage in a dance macabre or something. Like, it has this really weird feeling of being both lively and drained or crushed at the same time. Lyrically, I don't really know what's happening. There were some funny rhymes in there, and talk about what is it? Impatience is a sin. So I felt like at one point it almost was like a children's song where like it's in a light and silly way conveying societal or cultural virtues, or essentially telling kids how they should behave and how they should see things, but doing so in a silly way with funny rhymes. Like I believe Marmalade was in there. But yeah, I really don't know who Mr. Alphabets is or what he is saying or why he's saying it, but yeah, as I said, it felt like I was in a room of like I'm trying to think again, like an expression that would like capture the way my brain is seeing it or the way my brain heard it. But it's like those classical instrument players on the Titanic, like after they've passed away or something. Like there's a ghostly, deathly feel to it, and yet at the same time there was a sort of revelry in the track, at least in those sections. Between those sections, it sounded a bit more discordant, a bit more unnerving. But when it would flourish with the strings in particular, and I think there were multiple instruments doing some interesting things in those parts, but the strings, like the bowed strings, stood out the most. But those sections felt like almost celebratory or cathartic, even though the overall feeling was a bit dark and melancholy. Now, I do note it's a song where Robert's on the vocals, which I didn't know. I remember someone mentioned that like there's one or two where he does show up on the vocals, but yeah, I was a bit surprised by that, and ultimately it definitely gave the song a different feel than the previous Glove tunes, and it, in a way, it made me feel like it was more like a Cure track, more like one of those eccentric and a bit morose Cure tunes. So yeah, there's a really interesting sonic dynamic to this one, and vocally, it's funny because I'm going through the top, which I realize is roughly around the same time, but I've heard some very eccentric and experimental vocals from Robert in the last couple Cure tracks. This one felt more in his normal wheelhouse vocally, so that was interesting just by point of comparison. But yeah, a really intriguing tune, and one that I would definitely, be keen to listen to again. Like if, I had bought this album, admittedly, I would have been like 3 or 4 years old, but the point is, like, it's the kind of tune that if I had just gotten an album myself, I'd like rewind it and I'd listen to it again and be like, wow, that's like, I really am going to try to figure out what's happening here, because I'm getting some mixed signals sonically or atmospherically, and I heard some of the lyrics, but I don't quite know how they stitch together. So yeah, a really interesting experience, this one. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.